Welcome, makeup family. Today we're talking about the Natasha Denona Biba palette. And we're going to get right to the swatches. I have a lot of thoughts about this palette, and I'm going to share them all with you today. I hope your week is off to a good start. Let's check out this gorgeous neutral palette. And what I do love about this is that there are two rows of, they're really warm toned browns is what they are. And then this last final row up here of cool tone colors that I really like. So we're gonna jump into the swatches. This palette retails for $129, and that's gonna be one of the cons that I'm gonna mention to you because, you know, when you pay $129 for a palette, you develop a certain set of expectations, right, that are commensurate with spending $129 for a palette. This gorgeous bronze shimmer is called Rustic. And then this beautiful yellow tone brown that didn't swatch very well but performed very well on my eye in my crease today is called Prairie. And then you've got this deep brown here called Cocoa. Next up we've got Freckle. And the very first, well, the second shimmer of the palette, which you can barely see, it's called Shine, but there's not very much shine to it. I think this is the third time I'm re-upping on that color just to try to see if I can make it visible. And while it is kind of close to my skin tone, if it had more shine and shimmer, you'd be able to see it. Next up, we've got Pasha, which is this gorgeous red brown that I use to deepen the outer parts of my eye and the inner corners of my eye for my little halo effect is what I'm wearing on my eye today. And it did produce a really beautiful look. Pasha, this gorgeous deep red brown. Next up is the next shimmer of the palette, and it's called Monroe, which again you can't see. I'm gonna try to put some more to see if it can show up. There you go, Monroe. She's kind of, sort of there. Then next up we've got Rayon, which is also like a reddish sort of brown rayon. And then like a very orangey undertone brown is Buff. Very pretty crease color. And then we've got this color right here, which is the last one in the second row, called Tone. This is Tone. So we basically have like 12 shades of brown and bronze right here until we get to this last row of cool tone colors. This first cool tone deep taupe is called Seed. Then next up we've got Tor. This right here is Tor. And then we've got Sculpture. It's really pretty gray. It's a matte gray. And then we've got Spot, which is a very satiny brown. And finally, we've got Tusk, which is really, that's kind of neutral, not so much cool toned. It's really kind of a buttery, it's kind of a buttery ivory color. It could serve, you can't really see it on my skin. Well, actually you kind of can, yeah. It's kind of a bone color, I guess. Like a bone color that is. So that's the cool tone row right there. My favorite color, of course, is this red, this gorgeous red brown. That's what I have, but it really pulls a little bit more cool on my eye. It doesn't really look that red, I don't think. How do you like my little halo eye today? I enjoyed using the palette very much. The shimmers are mediocre. There's this bronze one, there's this one, and this. And this. And frankly, I just find the shimmers to be a little bit pedestrian, a little bit on the mediocre side for $129. You know, what are you going to do when you know, pay a certain price point for something? You just have, you know, a different set of expectations in your head of how something's going to look, how it's going to perform, how interesting the color story is going to be. Now, listen, I always appreciate a palette that has both cool and warm tone neutrals. Because I feel like that's a good value in the sense that you can take it traveling with you and you can, you know, get some very different looks out of it. And I love me a cool toned eye. And to have that mixed into the same palette where you can get some warm tone looks, you know, it's really cool. You can really get away with traveling with this and you will be fine. Except for if you really want to have some pop and shimmer, then you probably are going to want to take like a liquid, either a single sparkle shadow that you love, or you'll have to end up taking a liquid eyeshadow to, you know, sort of, you know, make these, you know, these browns pop the way that, you know, they can, you know, with a really nice pop and shimmer. But there's no pop and shimmer in this palette. There just is not one. The shimmers are this color right here, Shine. There's not very much shine to it. This bronze color is very pretty, but it's not a lot of shine to it. And then Monroe, and that's it. And this brown right here is this black is a satiny black. It's not a matte black. It's a really lovely palette, but is it worth $129? I'm gonna say no. If you want to have cool and warm tone neutrals all in the same palette, and it's something you want to take for traveling, and it's something that you value having all of those shadows and shades together in one place, and it's worth the extra money to you, then by all means grab it. It's a lovely formula. It's consistent with Natasha Denona's quality that I've seen in her other palettes that I have. But is this something that you need to run out and get? I mean, come on. Ladies, we've seen this a million times, but only, you know, you can determine whether or not having them all together in one palette is worth $129. For me, I would say I love having them all together. It's a palette that I would definitely travel with, and I'm a makeup junkie, so of course I'm gonna buy it, you know. But is it something that you absolutely have to have? No, it's not. And if you really, you know, care about the shimmer formula, there are only like 4 in here. But I mean, I would think if you're only going to put 4 shimmers in the palette, it should be 4 spectacular shimmers, but they're not spectacular. As a matter of fact, I can think of at least 3 other palettes, and I have them here, that are brown neutral palettes that are lovely, that have a great formulation, that are on par with this quality, and cost a fraction of what this palette costs. And the 3 that come to mind are these 3 right here. First up, we've got the Persona. It's by Persona. It's called the Identity palette. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. And I'm sure, you know, for those of you who are real makeup collectors and, you know, have a bunch of makeup, I'm sure you can probably think of at least 3 off the top of your heads too that, you know, will give you a nice, you know, brown neutral. Look at this. This is the Identity palette by Persona. And it's got the same burgundy browns, the reddish browns, orangey browns. It even has a green shimmer in it. I mean, and the shimmers on this are lovely. I'm gonna show you how they're supposed to be, you know, how a shimmer's supposed to be done. Okay, these are shimmers, okay? That is what a shimmer is supposed to be. These, you can barely tell, I mean, depending on how I turn my arm, you can barely tell that they're shimmers. These, you can tell that they are shimmers. It is clear and obvious that these are shimmers. This is the Identity palette by Persona. And I believe this palette is $32. If I had to choose between this Natasha Denona palette for $129 or this Persona palette for $32, or maybe it's $36, which is still completely fine and still a great value in comparison, I would go with the Persona palette, the Identity palette by Persona Cosmetics. It's a great palette. The mattes are lovely. They're blendable. They're pigmented. The shimmers pop. You could just grab this and take this in your suitcase with you. The thing that you miss out on this palette is that you really have only two, I mean, well, no, you have several cool toned neutrals. This is a very cool brown. I don't know. It's a very deep taupey brown. This is very cool toned as well. And this brown here, this deep chocolate black brown is also very cool toned. So you can actually get a cool tone look out of this as well as a warm tone look. So there goes that argument. I would definitely go with the Identity palette over the Natasha Denona palette. The other one that I had right on the top of my head when I started to swatch this, I'm going to pull this Identity palette out and start to use it. I mean, and look at that. It has the same buttery mattes and the same, you know, neutral colors, blendable, but then it has these poppin' gorgeous shimmers. And this is just 4 of them. And they are so beautiful on the eye. So beautiful on the eye. I really love this palette. Okay, another option is the Brown Sugar palette that I adore. And another palette that I just haven't reached for, that I need to reach for. But the formula, the Colourpop shadows in general have a very nice formula. But this particular formula in this particular palette is stunning. It's such exceptional quality. The quality, and I feel totally comfortable saying this, I have high end, low end, and everything in between. The quality on this Brown Sugar palette from Colourpop is every bit as nice as the Natasha Denona shadows. They are absolutely amazing. And this is a palette that I'm not going to swatch this because this is an extra palette that I got for a giveaway, which I will be doing in the very near future since I got to 100 subscribers. Yay! Thank you guys, and congratulations to all of us for having a mature, bright eyeshadow wearing makeup community that we can come and enjoy our stuff and feel good about it and educate each other and learn from each other and just have fun with makeup. So congratulations to all of us. But I will be doing a giveaway very, very soon. And I'm going to, that's one of the items that I wanted because it's one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. Okay, another option is the Tartelette Toasted palette. And this is what it looks like. This is what the outside looks like. It's really cute. It's like fire. And again, if you want some really nice blendable mattes and some shimmers that are not the best shimmers in the whole world, here you go. And these shimmers are just as good as the shimmers in the Natasha Denona palette, which is just fine, but nothing to write home about. But this palette, on the other hand, is going to be $19.50 in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, and I would definitely pick this up. Again, if I had to choose and I could only get one for the money, I would definitely go with this Tartelette Toasted palette for $19.50 over the Natasha Denona palette. If I had to pick between all of these brown palettes that I just showed you, all 4 of them, I would probably go with the Identity palette by Persona. It's a glorious palette. It's worth every dime. And again, these are just the shimmers and not the best swatches. I apologize, but even with these swatches in my lighting, you can clearly see that they are much more noticeable, much more poppin' than, you know, these very staid, laid back shimmers in the Natasha Denona palette. So those are my thoughts on the Natasha Denona palette, and 3 other palettes that I can think of right off the top of my head that are just as good, that cost a fraction of the price. So I don't think that this is a must-have. I do, however, think that it's a really lovely palette that I like. Don't love it, and I will use it and I will enjoy it because I enjoy her formula, And I definitely enjoy, the reason why I bought it is because it has cool tone, very cool toned, and warm tone neutrals all in one place. And that to me was worth the extra money, to be able to, you know, not have to take two palettes and to be able to get all of it in one palette. So it's something I see myself using a lot. But is it an absolute must-have? No, ma'ams. No. But it's a really lovely palette. This is another look at the swatches. These are those first two rows of warm tone neutrals, and then that final row of cool tone neutrals. Thank you for hanging with me today. I hope you enjoyed my content. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know below if you're going to pick this palette up, or if you have any of the other three palettes that I mentioned. It's the Tartelette Toasted, the Identity palette by Persona, and then the Brown Sugar palette that somebody's going to be winning soon. So I will see you on the very next one.